here in Africa. The path to prosperity should honor and preserve the rich spiritual heritage of Africa's traditional families and cultures as a necessary foundation for its balanced social, economic, and political development. That is why I believe that moral and innovative leadership is so important today, not only in the developing nations of the world, but in the developed world. Moral leadership provides the roadmap for nation building by outlining a vision rooted in universal aspirations, principles, and values, while innovative leadership provides the methods in which that vision can be realized. Both are like two sides of a coin. I believe that most will agree that the true cause of this current global recession can be directly attributed to the erosion of principles and values. If those in power do not regulate themselves based upon some transcendent ethical norms, then any system or institution will experience corruption and eventual collapse, whether on Wall Street or in the halls of government. In the end, the legitimacy and sustainability of any free society relies on its ability to raise ethical and moral citizens, guided by a shared vision, principles, and values. Due to the fluidity of leadership in a democratic society, it is paramount to raise citizens who can be leaders of integrity. Ultimately, it is leadership, or lack thereof, that will determine outcomes, whether positive or negative. Clearly, the problem of corruption so prevalent today will only be solved when citizens regulate themselves according to spiritual principles and values that are reinforced within the larger culture. That reinforcement requires a consensus on values, which is why interfaith partnerships are so vital in coalescing faith leaders to work together as the conscience of society. In this era of globalization, regional and continental cooperation is critical to solving problems, in addition to promoting peace and development. Here in East Africa, a new level of engagement has been achieved through the launch this year of the East African Community that includes nations like Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi. Such initiatives are a needed and positive step to collaboratively address the unique regional challenges of Northern, Western, Southern, and in this case, Eastern Africa. Reconciliation, peace, and prosperity in these four corners of the African continent could mark a new age for Africa and Africans, from the Sahara to the Cape of Good Hope, from the Ivory Coast to the coasts of Zanzibar. This is an age when Africans can lead in ways unimagined before. I know that many in the first world are trying to make their mark on this continent, either through economic initiatives, humanitarian aid, or through historic cultural precedents harkening back to the age of colonialism. These forces have definitely shaped the current state of affairs on this continent, but it has no bearing as to what its future can become. 2010 should signal a new decade of African leadership, from local communities to the national halls of government, to the 4 regional centers of Africa, where a new breed of leaders, motivated by a common vision, rooted in universal principles and values, rise to shape the future of this continent and possibly the world. Ladies and gentlemen, as a student of history, I have observed that true leadership is manifested in a moral authority, which beckons disparate people to naturally align, not with force or coercion, but by a common vision and cause. As I've already mentioned, the leadership paradigm of this decade and this century should be moral and innovative leadership. What could be more natural than to encourage mankind to strip itself of its pretensions and to recognize our common humanity as one family under God? Kenya, on the eastern coast of Africa, has already taken the lead by birthing a new constitution, which recognizes the sovereignty of God as a source of all fundamental human rights, as well as unabashedly recognizing spiritual roots of its national principles and values. Unlike the previous constitution, which was rushed to establish a basic governmental framework after the liberation from its colonial yoke, this effort reflects the collective wisdom of a uniquely African experience, which recognizes the importance of root causes in creating a better Kenya and a better Africa. This precedent can continue to sweep this continent of Africa, from Egypt in the north to South Africa in the south, as well as Nigeria to the west. These regional movements to harness and shape the aspirations of a renewed Africa can give significant meaning and inject new life to the current African Union. As we all know, the African continent has vast amounts of largely untouched human and natural resources. Those resources for the benefit of all the people of Africa, it is vitally important that a shared vision rooted in principles and values strengthens the alliances within the African Union. Hopefully, this can lead to greater political and economic integration, which is absolutely necessary to compete more effectively in today's global marketplace. By the same token, I believe that movements of regional and continental consolidation will take place in other regions of the Southern Hemisphere around the world, such as Latin America and Oceania, and thereby set the stage for Africa's increasing influence on the global stage as a precedent-setting leader within the Southern Hemisphere. Given the unique position of Africa, straddling the Atlantic and the Indian Oceans, it holds a historic and natural role in brokering the human and natural resource needs of the West and the rising powers of Asia, as well as arbitrating the religious and cultural divide between Europe and the Middle East. In other words, whatever transpires here in Africa, whether positive or negative, good or bad, will have global consequences. That is why the eyes of the world have converged upon this continent, seeking to find a new dawn of hope and leadership that can rise out of its troubled past and lead the world to peace and to prosperity. In short, the future of this continent and the world rests in the hands of Africans and the fate of this continent of Africa. Before I conclude, I wish to commend the Global Leadership Council and the esteemed host committee members for presenting the Nairobi Declaration to this convention. It will announce a number of action measures that will advance, as a result of this convention, the regional initiatives from Kathmandu to Jakarta, from Seoul to Asuncion, and across the continent of Africa, such as here in Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and Egypt. Each of us will have the opportunity to demonstrate our true ownership as we carry this vision and the lessons learned from this historic convention back to our communities and our nations. Ladies and gentlemen, as I stand here in the company of such dignitaries and leaders from disparate corners of this continent and the world, I am struck with the significance of this moment. A moment when a dream can be planted that sparks the imagination of a nation, region, continent, and world. If I may be so bold, I would like to challenge all of you to dream big and take on the mantle of global, moral, and innovative leadership. The future is yours to mold. Together, we can pave the path to reconciliation, peace, and prosperity. Will you seize this moment? Will you rise with me to dream the greatest dream of all, to build a world of peace and co-prosperity through the vision of one family under God? The choice is yours, and this moment is yours. May God bless you and your families. Thank you very much.